Hi, I'm D. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Moved to Dallas in 2013, and I've been out here ever since. Um, I am a lifetime fat kid. I grew up. I came out chunky and stayed chunky. I never lost that baby fat that people talk about. And so growing up, I had to learn how to deal with that in a family where I was the only fat person. And so not only was that, I knew from an early age that I was gay. And so it's like growing up, black as ever, fat and gay. I was like, I had to fight multiple fights from being a kid, and
Mhm.
I had nobody to turn to because nobody could relate to me in any of the things that I struggle with. And
Mhm.
so early on, I just had to build this wall around myself and just be tough as nails and be able to deal with stuff without turning for help. And so it's just like everything else I could fight, but the weight issue was just something that I kept losing. I gave it all I had, but I just, no matter what I did, I just could not defeat that weight demon that a lot of people face.
Wow. And so who do you feel like you leaned on in your family when you were going through what you were going through as a kid from your childhood?
As a kid, honestly, I didn't believe that I could lean on anybody, so no one. I just went into my room and kind of isolated myself. And so, like, my family had no idea the struggles that I was going through. I put on a brave face, I smiled, I did the thing they teach you in church is just, grit and bear and just go on with this. So it's like I really didn't lean on anybody. And so it wasn't until I lost the weight and I talk about it now, like all this is new for my family because they had no idea how I felt, how bad I was struggling, how alone I felt in the kind of world, this fantasy world that I had to build around myself to protect me.
Mhm.
And I would kind of like look at TV and stuff like that and other people's lives and I'd be like, okay, if I can just get to skinny or if I could just be like that, I'll find happiness. So I put all of my future happiness or what I thought would bring me happiness into something that wasn't tangible at the moment, but it gave me something to push forward to. It kind of distracted me from the reality that I lived in.
Mm. Now, would you say that your weight gain was genetics? Like you had most of the people in your family were are bigger of in terms of weight gain?
So no, if you look at my family, I was the only fat one.
Oh
At least in
wow.
my immediate household,
Hmm.
I would say environment, like the things that they did affected my body differently than it affected like my sister and them.
Mm.
And I was always hungry. Like now that I know what real hunger is supposed to feel like, as a kid, I wanted like the entire pack of bacon and I would sneak down in the kitchen and I want the whole
Mm.
bottle of orange juice. Like moderation didn't exist because I was overwhelmingly hungry. So I think if you look back and if there was a way to test it, I'm sure hormonally something was wrong with me because a as an adult I shouldn't have been that hungry. So for sure as a kid, there's no way that I should have been eating the way that I did. And my family just didn't know to say no. Like so they would give me whatever I wanted. At 5 years old, I'm like, I want a full chicken box, and I would eat a grown man's chicken box. Um, as a kid, and then from Baltimore, it's like you go to the Chinese spot, you get a 5-piece chicken wing with fries, salt, pepper, ketchup, tastes so good. I can taste it even talking about it. But but as a kid, like I would eat that. Now as a grown man, I can't even eat that, especially after surgery. I'll probably tap out at 2 wings, if even that. And so I would say from my family, environmentally, just knowing what moderation is, it just didn't exist. Knowing what how to fuel our body versus fueling wants and sugar cravings and stuff like that. They didn't have the knowledge, so they couldn't help me with my struggle.
Mm. So that's interesting because even I think about like Corby and your story, which we'll touch on, but I know your story more so to be triggered from something as an adult more so. And so, but do you feel like you had like this similar in terms of like childhood or just like family?
So yeah, so because my family was always big, we I didn't know that limitation was needed, right?
Mm,
Food limitation and things like that. It was like, oh, we'll always go here. It became like an emotional aspect for me.
mm,
Like food was an emotional response for everything, happiness, sadness, whatever it may be. And I can really detail the emotion that each family member brought when it came to food, right? My
mm.
mother, of her death, but she would make like big portions of fried rice for us and be like, well, this is the only happiness I can give you because this is all the happiness I know.
So when you have people such as D like come to you, like what are some of the questions that you ask around like childhood as to like how do you kind of open to figure out like what because you said it was more like a hormonal cause of eating. Like, how do you unpack that and for adults who are start that way in their childhood as kids?
So I'll look at beliefs and values. I feel that every childhood experience starts with a belief system of some sort, right? It's whether you're taught, you visually see, or you're emotionally bonded to. And how I unpack that is, I think like, okay, what's the example of what you were taught growing up? All right, and then what did you find yourself visually seeing as you were sitting around with everybody else, what you were eating and things like that? And then what emotions came up while you were eating these foods with them? All right. I do the same concept when it comes to love, because food and love have a correlation as well. What if love was about giving flowers, right? And then a child saw their father give their mother flowers, whether she was happy, sad, birthday, it doesn't matter. So the child then learns the relationship to the emotional bond of flowers is love, right? But then here's the thing: when you become the adult, and say, for instance, I would try to give flowers to someone who's sick and who is allergic to flowers, right? I can't necessarily give that to them, but it conflicts with my belief system then. Because of the confliction, either I'm going to expand or contract and think that there's something wrong with them. Because I know that's kind of the same thing when it came with food for me. It's like something has to be wrong with them. Like they can't eat this amount. It's like, no, it's my relationship with food is wrong. I can't keep pointing fingers and expect other people to relate to me.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, what would you say was your turning point, D, where you decided like surgery was the best option for me? Because you have the other alternatives right now. Ozempic is big, but dieting and things. What kind of made you go towards surgery?
So I would say it was a long road coming, and I probably waited way too long to do what I should have done a while ago. So I failed at diets, I say, for 34 years, because I've been dieting since I was in Pampers. Like, since I knew that I had a weight problem, I've been trying my best to correct it. And I would say in 2021, I went on what I call my last diet. And so I was like, I'm in the best state of mind. I'm my best financially. If I can't make this work after losing 100 pounds on my own over and over again, at this point I had done it 3 times before I decided to do surgery. So that summer I said, I'm gonna go on my last diet. If this doesn't work, then I'm gonna do something else. And it just so happened that my boss at the time, me and her got along, she disappeared for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, where have you been? Because you never ignore my calls or anything. And she pulled me to the side and was like, I went to Mexico and I had weight loss surgery. And so I was just like, I had heard about it, but never close enough to get the details that I needed to get it for myself. And so she gave me all the information, and she told me the process that she had. So I was like, I put it in the back of my mind, and that's when that last diet came into fruition. So I went all out like I normally do, cardio every single day, dropped my calories, starving myself, and I lost about 50 pounds.
What was your biggest weight?
357.
Okay.
357 was my highest weight. And so I lost about 50 pounds. At that time, I was like 307. And so I dropped down into the 250s. But I mean, I worked out so hard that at the end of that diet, I remember I was in the locker room at the gym changing, and I fainted and fell through a wall. So I'm laying there embarrassingly butt ass naked in the men's locker room. I had just knocked all this stuff over, and I came to, and all these people standing around me, and I grabbed my clothes and ran up out of there. And to say that was the end of that diet, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm calling a surgeon. And I'll preface this by saying I did have surgery in my mind, but it was very loose before. So would try to go through my insurance and apply. So I applied 3 times before that final decision, and I got denied. And so when my boss gave me that information about Mexico, that's where you pay out of pocket. So it's cash. You just go down there and they'll do it. So you have to really have something wrong for them to deny you to go out of the country. But I was like, if I can't get it here, I'm going to get it some way. I'm like, it's either this or they're going to let me die.
What is the pricing looking like?
I paid $5,300 cash for the whole procedure. That includes the procedure. They let you stay at a recovery resort. Transportation.
I was like BBLs.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And after surgery, I need one because my butt is flat. So. I don't know if they do man BBLs, but
they do.
I'm flat as a board.
I'm like, but okay. So How were you mentally going into it? Like, were you more overexcited or nervous? I think like that's a major surgery.
Hmm.
So how were you feeling about it?
It is like being Charlie in a chocolate factory, and you know that you have that golden ticket. Like, you know you have it. And it's just the excitement part was I wanted that golden ticket and I wanted it now. Like, because I booked my surgery in December of 2021, but I booked it out for March the 2nd of 2022. So I wanted to give myself time to mentally prepare because I was going out of the country. I didn't have the therapy support. I didn't have the nutritionist, all the things that you get when you go through it in America. But this felt like my last chance. I'm like, if I screw this up, I'm going to be overweight for the rest of my life. So I wanted to stack the cards in my favor. And so I watched every single YouTube video. I read every article. I went psycho crazy day and night researching everything about the surgery, ways to make it successful, what makes people fail, how to take it, quote unquote, all the way, and how to make it lifelong. Also, like things to expect. What does it feel like? Is it hurt? Like, I wanted to know every single detail so that I wouldn't wake up and be surprised and be blindsided. And so it was nervousness, as in I had failed every diet and failed every weight loss attempt long term. So I was just like, what makes this different than anything else?
Right.
So it was just like part of me didn't believe it would work, but I wanted to make sure that if I was fat the rest of my life, that I couldn't say it was from lack of trying. So I wanted to X every single box to make sure that if I failed, I can look at something tangible and say I did everything that I could with my whole heart. And so, so it was a mixed emotion going into it. Nervousness, like being scared, really wasn't it, because I was the excitement of a possible new life overshadowed the fear of like something going wrong.
Now, did you have your bariatric surgery in the States?
So I had it in the States, I had it in Illinois. My journey started maybe back in 2018. My heaviest weight was 835 pounds. I'm currently now down to 392. I knew I needed to do something about my weight. Like I was dying. I literally was going in and out the hospital every 3 months. I had a pulmonary embolism, hypertension in my legs, water weight, you name it. Right, I was walking around doing therapy with oxygen tank. Like, who's gonna really take me seriously if I don't take my health serious? That was kind of the reality I had, and I ended up calling this doctor, and he was like, I got a program that will help you. I was like, okay, what is this? He was like, I can get you started on, before the Ozempic, there was this thing called Saxenda. So he gave me Saxenda shot, and I had to take that every day, and I would do that, which helped with the cravings with food, right? But I also had to do the physical labor. So that's when I started my walking journey. I started out walking a mile, to then I started jogging up to 3 miles a day, right? And that commitment in that 1 year, I lost over 200 pounds just with the shots and working out. And then by the time of, I want to say, July of, 2020, that's when like I was ramping up to get the surgery. I had a date and everything in plan, and I was just excited because this is the end all be all for me in this moment. I got to the surgery date. By that time, I lost another 60 pounds, and I was really like stringent on my diet. I was having 3 protein shakes a day, a handful of chicken, a handful of broccoli, and that was just consistent. That was 600 calories a day. Right now, mind you, because my size, 600 calories is nothing, right? And trying to work out on top of that, I remember going through withdrawals of sugar, withdrawals of anything in your body, just because you're not gaining anything from it.
So let's talk about the actual surgery, and then also life after surgery. How painful was it?
Absolutely zero.
Okay.
Like, I woke up from surgery and I said, "Oh my God, did y'all not do my surgery?" I was like, "Why? What happened? What did I do wrong?" And
That's
so,
a good drugs.
yeah,
You a drug.
I was people hate on like out of the country medicine and stuff like that, but they got it going on. The only thing I'll say is they cannot do phlebotomy to save their life. They tore my arms up trying to find my veins.
What is phlebotomy?
Like needles, drawing blood, and all that.
Oh, I see. I experienced that because I have small veins. And I always end up having to go to a black person.
Like get the nurse. They know what
Yeah.
you need. Yeah. They had to turn lights out to see my vein. It was bad. And they missed my vein, so my hand had swelled up. And trying to translate from Spanish to English, they're like, we're gonna redo it. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Just leave it. I'll suffer. I was like, y'all not stabbing me no more. That was the only downside, but everything else felt amazing. And I don't know if it was because I was so stringent on my pre-diet, because when you go out of country, you got to follow the toughest. I don't want to say restrictions. The toughest was it regiment, I guess, before surgery. And so I did the full 14-day liquid diet. I didn't break. And so by the time I got to surgery, my body was primed for it. And so I found out it was a group of 10 of us that had surgery the same day. We were all kind of in the same wing. I was the only one like up bouncing around right after surgery, but I was the only one that didn't break the diet going into it. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it was easy for me.
Wow. What's your pain level? Just give me a number.
I'll say it was a 10. It was a 10. It was bad.
You should have went to Mexico.
Probably should. Probably should have went to Mexico. I woke up, couldn't walk out my leg for about a couple of days because it was, I guess because of my size, I was on this table. And mind you, the table wasn't supposed to hold my weight for long periods of time. Right? And then when I woke up and I'm like in a stretcher, I'm like, and my side is hurting, and I was like, I can't feel my ass cheek. Like, it was all bad. I was like, man, it wasn't worth it at first. Like, I literally had 5 minutes of, man, I regret it. But then it was like, all right, let's slowly down. I was like, it isn't as bad. This is what's needed.
It makes sense. Dee, how has your life changed after surgery?
Oh, my goodness. It is like, I feel like I've lived two different lives.
Wow.
Like, there's a hard stop distinction between life before and life after. And most of it is not even because of the way my body's changed, it's the way my mind has changed and the way I see life and see happiness and see myself and the way I treat myself. So it is the best decision I could have ever made. And a lot of people say it is cliche, but they mean it. Like, I wish I had have done it sooner. I wasted so much time trying to be tough and do it myself and having all this pride, like, nah, I got it. And the help that I needed was right there. I just didn't know.
Did your relationships change? Like your friends, dating for you?
Yeah, so I was married. Well, I am still married. So I was married going into it. So that didn't change. It's just because we had a lot of communication going into it. And so we have open dialogue, like monthly check-ins before and after. And one of the big check-ins is I'm like, look, you met me big. And some people like their partners big. So I'm like, if we need to renegotiate what our relationship looks like, meaning if we need to unfortunately open it up, then let's talk about it. I'm not saying I agree to it, but I don't want the streets knowing more about my man than I do. So don't have me out here looking stupid. So I'd rather talk about it than, get caught by surprise.
That part.
And then take your whole family out. So that was good. I would say my friendships have all stayed the same, if not strengthened, but I have to deal with them mourning the fat me. Like, my friends went into true mourning, missing the old me, the party me, the eating me, the person that didn't prioritize the gym and my health first. Like, they bring it up all the time. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, it pisses me off, but I get it. I snatched myself, not eased away. I literally snatched my old self away from them. So I can't expect them to just wake up and be cool with it, because I had time to process, study, and come to terms with the new me. I didn't give them that same time because I didn't tell anybody until after, because I didn't want anybody else.
Oh, so
opinion. I just went.
Wow.
I don't play around. When I make up my mind, I do it. There is no.
A lot of people do that. They do that because it's the aspect of the fear of someone challenging my own thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to challenge what I'm already, like, I'm trying to believe in this. I need to withhold information because you might not see it right now. I'll say for me, when I told my mom about it, she withdrew out my life for a bit. Like, she didn't talk to me for 8 months, right? It was this concept of, I'm afraid that you're going to die on the table. And because of that concept, right, I emotionally was like, I can't deal with this. It's annoying. I was in tears about this. But then the element is like, I have to respect that, because in her head, she's missing her baby. She's missing the snapshot picture of what she saw as a child. And it makes her, to this day still, question a lot about if she did wrong and things like that. And I never blame her for my eating habits and anything like that. But in her head, it's like, because you changed so much, I should have done something better for you.
What advice, Corby, I'm pulling all your therapy cards, but this is why we got you here. What advice do you give people that are going through this specific journey in terms of like transitioning to different chapters in life? Because I think it's just relatable too, because like you do see like you being like marriage is a whole nother chapter. And so it does put like an interesting place as to where you put your friendships, or like how do people fit in my life now that I'm in this specific chapter. So like what is some advice that you give as a therapist to people who are going through bariatric surgery specifically?
I say find a community outside of your immediate family.
And is that how you all, because I was getting to that too, how did you all met through bariatric community?
Yeah, we met through bariatric after we had weight loss surgery, but like we met through the community. And it's take for instance, the bariatric community is all accepting. It's like full of love, full of grace, full of acceptance, full of who you are, being present with you and things like that. There's limited judgment, right? And I appreciated that, because a lot of times I would think like, if I tell this person, they're gonna have a million questions because they don't understand, and because they don't understand, they're gonna judge me for it, and I don't want to have that conflict, right? And I'm assuming that's kind of how you did. You didn't want that conflict in your head about their perception of what they'll see.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and at least what he was saying, a lot of people give this surgery too much credit and not enough credit at the same time. So it's just like when people see me, like how fit I am, the first thing they say is, what do you do and all that stuff. And I'm honest. So I tell them backwards. I tell them about my gym routine, my eating, my habits. Then I also say, when I was bigger, I also got bariatric surgery. And you can see the wool or the blanket get pulled from under. You can see the blood leave their face, and they're like, oh. And I'm like, oh, shit, no. I'm like, this isn't guaranteed. It is like driving around a car with a bunch of flat tires, and you finally fix your flat tire. Then you can drive. So if somebody's doing a NASCAR thing and they say, I fixed my tire, you're going to be like, oh, that's the only reason you want to race. No. Like, you still got to put in the work. You still got to go around the track, but you have to have all your tires working in tandem. And with us, people don't realize when you get as big as we got, your body is not working. Something is wrong. Something is off. But we walk around with a broken body expecting it to be right like everybody else. And so it's just like, I'm very I try to push that this surgery was important for us, but we have to put in the work to make it work and make it last forever, because it is not a permanent solution.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was interested in having you had any negative feedback, because you get like the people who are like bigger, like even like in your family, they'll say like, oh, you're a sellout, or like, you know, like this is the way I am. And like you took the easy way out is kind of what you were saying. But I really do feel like a lot of it is tied to your mental health and tied towards how you see success and how you see happiness for yourself. So how has that changed in terms of how you see happiness and success now?
And that's kind of, and I'm sorry, I'm so long-winded.
No, you're good.
It's a two-part answer to that. So the first thing is, I look back to say, what did I do wrong before I had surgery? Because I learned a lot of lessons of what I feel like I should have done. And the biggest thing was realizing what a true 100% work is. So after surgery, I went a full 100, possibly 110%. I worked out every single day, 2 hours a day, and I made a deal with myself. I said, I'm going to go to the gym and take a buddy. And my rule to myself is I will be in that gym 2 hours a day until I faint. So either 2 hours or I pass out. I've gotten close to passing out, but I never passed out. But that showed me, okay, I never did that before. And I was never consistent. Like, I would go to the gym, go crazy 3 days a week, then I would miss 4, then I would go back another 5, then I would miss 6. So, but this was every single day. Nothing got in between my routine. Everything came second. That's when I realized, oh, this is what 100% feels like. Wow. It's hard. It's ugly. It's not pretty. It's sacrificial. It is pretty much the ugliest thing that you can do is to go 100%. And a lot of people are operating at 40, 50% and wondering why they're not successful. It's because they're not digging into that ugly 100%. So it changed, one, what I feel like it takes to get to 100%. So that's one thing. And then happiness, I always waited to be happy. I was like, once I get this weight off, then I could be happy. And then I remember I hit 199 pounds. That was like my lifelong goal because I've been in the two since I was like 10 or 11. And so I was like, once I get under 200 pounds, I'm going to be happy. And that scale read 199 and I did a cartwheel. And then I was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And then I was like, God damn it, I waited all this time to be happy when I was happy the whole way down the scale. I was happy like repairing my relationship and trust with myself. I didn't value that. So I was like, just waking up and telling myself I'm going to go to the gym and actually going, and then doing it again when I was tired and when I didn't feel good or when I had an event that I wanted to go to, but I had to go to the gym. That brought me more happiness than seeing that number on the scale. So like I say, I wasted a lot of time. And again, I wasted time waiting to be happy when I could have been happy the whole time. I just kept focusing on the wrong thing.
Okay, I absolutely love that. I think that's even a great place for us to end. Is just on happiness and being the self love, like just being aware of who you are, who you want to be, what happiness looks like for you, and sometimes it's literally the journey. And actually, most times it's the journey. It's really not a destination. And so, thank you so much, Dee, for joining us on Savage Season. I'm Ayana Faye, and this is Savage Season, the podcast. Period.